NoDQ.com.
Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to NoDQ video episode number 1100. That's right, 1100 episodes of NoDQ video. Thank you so much to everyone out there watching, supporting the website and the channel. It is very much appreciated. Please keep spreading the word. Tell a friend if you enjoyed today's video. Let's go ahead and get to your questions. This will be a special extended edition. I hope you enjoy. First one today comes from Isaac. I'm not a Roman Reigns fan by any means, but it's said when people are making jokes on his cancer, there's just certain things they can't joke about, and that's one of them. What are your thoughts on people that do this? Well, quite frankly, I think the people that do this need to get a life, but that's just me. It's trolling. It's people just trying to get a rise out of other people, and when you have no real emotional connection to that person, you can say stuff like that because it doesn't affect you directly. If it's somebody who is a family member, then you're not going to be making those types of comments. So these people that make the comments, there's no emotional attachment to them, so they just say whatever they want. And it's the internet. When you're on the internet, sometimes there's no consequences for what you say. People just go on there and they'll write whatever it takes to get a rise out of somebody. The thing with Roman Reigns is just sad. It is what it is, and people will troll it. They will make negative comments, but nobody should wish ill on anybody. Roman Reigns is a human being just like me, just like everyone watching this video. He's a real-life person behind the scenes, and he has a family, he has kids, he has a wife, and it just really sucks what he's going through. And despite what you think about the television character, you should never wish harm on anybody just because of a television show. This one comes from Garrett Mills. How long do you think Dean Ambrose will remain heel? Well, I would think for the long haul. I mean, this was a major angle on Raw where Dean Ambrose turned on Seth Rollins the same night that Roman Reigns went out there and announced he is battling leukemia. That is a really big deal. So if Ambrose goes back anytime soon, then that would render the whole thing somewhat pointless. If you're going to do this angle on that night, then you go through it this long term. This is going to be a major storyline, as it should be, and potentially even go into WrestleMania. And Dean Ambrose is in this spot now of being that top heel, because what he did, the significance of it and the timing of it, it's got to be right up there among the biggest heel turns of all time. So if it's not a heel turn that lasts more than a year, I would say this was a really bad idea. I would say he needs to be a heel for at least a year, if not 2 or 3 years, or maybe even longer. I mean, this could be like the Triple H moment for Dean Ambrose, where he's like the dominant heel for the foreseeable future. And only time will tell, as some people out there might say. Got this one here from Jason Bush. More shocking turn, Ciampa on Gargano or Ambrose on Rollins? Well, I think it was pretty clear on Raw that this was trying to recreate that a little bit, the whole atmosphere of it, and swerving everybody, doing the spot where the floor pads were removed and Ambrose did dirty deeds on the concrete. Same thing that Tommaso Ciampa did. So they are very similar, but I would have to say that this was even more shocking. The Ciampa heel turn was definitely shocking because it came out of nowhere. It was the end of the pay-per-view. The credits were shown, and you just were not expecting it. But here, I mean, it wasn't just the fact that Ambrose and Rollins won the tag team titles. That made it a shock in its own, but also the fact that it was at the end of the same show, like I said, where Roman Reigns had to give up the title due to having leukemia and this being a very real situation. Nobody was expecting this at the end of Raw. It was a total shock, and my jaw completely dropped when it happened. So yeah, WWE really pulled one off with this Ambrose heel turn for sure. Got this one here from Jared J. Smith. Well, Aaron, it finally happened. Ambrose turned heel. Best swerve in a long time. Where would you rank this turn? Is it up there with Hogan's heel turn and Shawn Michaels' turn on Marty Jannetty? Again, to use that phrase, only time will tell. I think it definitely has that potential. I mean, this was a really big shocker. Might be the most shocking heel turn ever. Shawn Michaels turning on Jannetty, that was an excellent turn, a great segment, but it was definitely leading to that moment. Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, they were on the verge of breaking up, so you knew it was coming. You just didn't know when. But the whole execution of it was just really well done. And then, of course, Hulk Hogan turning heel. I mean, some people had this vision that he would do it, but they just didn't know when or where, and that was the right time for it. And here with the Ambrose turn, it was certainly controversial, but really I think it was the right time because Ambrose needed the heel turn for a long time. How do you get maximum heat on Dean Ambrose? This is the show you do it. And like I've said on the live streams, I don't think Roman Reigns personally had a problem with it. I would think that he would be the first person with his background in wrestling saying, hey, you know what? It's good for business. The show must go on. You guys do what you got to do to get the heat and make some money off of it. That's just how I see his mentality being. But again, I cannot speak for him. That's just how I think the general thought process is with people in the wrestling business, especially people that are second generation, third generation superstars, and people that are born into the business and part of that major wrestling family. This one comes from Chris. Hey Aaron, if the reports are true with Ambrose versus Seth Rollins for the WWE title, is it a giveaway that one of the two will win the Royal Rumble? Not necessarily. You could always have a SmackDown person win and then Seth Rollins wins some kind of match. I don't know what's going to happen with the Universal title. I mean, everything definitely seems to be up in the air with that now that Roman is gone. But we could see eventually Ambrose and Rollins for the Universal title. But I don't know if WWE is going to do this feud now or slowly build towards WrestleMania. That is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But in the meantime, you know, Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, we'll have to see. And I'm thinking Drew McIntyre will be feuding with Braun Strowman. So I don't know if Rollins and Ambrose is necessarily going to be for the WWE title, but it should. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, WWE should save it until WrestleMania. And if they have to, do an injury angle with Rollins or do something so you can keep the two of them separate. I think it would be best. I mean, it's almost November now. I think they should hold off on it until WrestleMania and just slowly build it and build it. Maybe do a storyline worked injury angle or something just to keep it going until WrestleMania. But who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? This one comes from Omar G. Hey Aaron, do you see WWE giving Daniel Bryan the WWE title by pinning AJ Styles at Crown Jewel to convince him to attend the show? I don't think so. I really don't think WWE would do that because if they did something like that and basically they bribed Daniel Bryan to go, then that's going to open up the door for other guys trying to protest the show and saying, hey, I want the title if I'm going to show up. And I don't think WWE wants that. I don't think that they're in a position where they're going to feel desperate enough to do that. So no, I don't think that they would do that. And even if they did, I don't know if Daniel Bryan would take it. I mean, some guys are marks for the business, but some aren't. And my feeling on Bryan is he loves wrestling. It's his passion. But at the same time, he has his own personal pride. Otherwise, he would not protest going to Saudi Arabia in the first place. And of course, we don't know 100% the full story behind all this. But my feeling is even if they did try to offer him something, he'd be like, no, you're not going to bribe me. So that's just my take on it, at least. This one comes from Chris Dosky. Assuming Braun Strowman beats Brock Lesnar, who should be next in line for a title shot? In my opinion, it should be Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre, but it's hard to choose between those two. Your thoughts? Well, first of all, Chris, let me correct you. It's a championship opportunity. It's not a title shot. I think Drew McIntyre is the obvious choice. Bobby Lashley isn't feuding with Braun Strowman. Drew McIntyre is. So naturally, that's the next big title match you do. And I feel it's a good opportunity for Drew. People have been wanting to see Drew get the big push. He managed to come back, shake off the 3MB vibe that people had about him, and really come into his own, reinvent himself. And yeah, he's on a tear right now. He's got the momentum. So if it was me, I would definitely go with that. Lashley, I think you could save him. You could definitely do Lashley and Strowman at some point. You could build up to that. But if that's the case and WWE is planning to do that match, then I think I would avoid having Lashley lose to Finn Balor via roll-ups. Fruit roll-ups, as I like to call them. This one comes from Professor X. What are your thoughts on Fox wanting WWE to cut down on the comedy and turn SmackDown Live into a more sports-type show? I think it's a possibility, depending on the money. WWE could always change up the product a little bit, but at the same time, I think they're going to do what they're going to do. They may bend a little bit for Fox, depending on what Fox wants. It's really hard to say how WWE will go about this, but my feeling is Vince wants to do his thing, and he's not going to let the network boss him around and make him change up the show all that much. So I would be a little surprised. I would not rule it out, but I sense it's going to be pretty much the same show. If anything changes, we will see more A talent on SmackDown, although Roman's gone now, so that just throws a monkey wrench into everything. But I could see potentially a Braun Strowman or a Seth Rollins heading over to SmackDown Live in 2019. Got this one here from Mr. Yuck. Does it make sense for Kurt Angle to win the WWE World Cup? We'll wait for your NoDQ predictions video on YouTube, but if he can go the distance, should they let him win it? Should they let him have it in-ring action-wise? Okay, I just had trouble reading your question. I don't really care. That's the problem here. It's sad because you have Kurt Angle coming into this big match. You have Seth Rollins. You have Dolph Ziggler. You have all these top stars. Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, if he even shows up. The whole thing's a joke. I mean, just for the fact that Cena is apparently not going to be there. It's a mess. And it's the World Cup, even though they're all American. I mean, I really don't care how this goes down. I guess Kurt Angle makes sense. Seth Rollins would be fine. I mean, I don't know how WWE is going to put together the tournament, but I mean, I guess I would go with Kurt Angle or Seth Rollins. I don't know who else I would have win that, but at this point, again, does anybody really care all that much? It's sad. It's really sad. Shouldn't be that way. We should be beyond thrilled about this, and maybe some people are, but I'm not feeling it personally. Got this one here from Tupac's father. Tupac? Do you think Owen Hart and Shawn Michaels should have had a similar feud in early 98 like how Rock and Mankind did in 99, going back and forth with the title before eventually putting it on Austin? Owen had a ton of momentum and it was wasted. Well, I do agree about Owen Hart. It felt like WWE dropped the ball with him. He had some momentum coming back right after Survivor Series and getting in Vince's face, but the timing just wasn't right. Steve Austin was by far the hottest star in the company, and you don't want to do a lot of title changes. You want to make that first Steve Austin win really special, and it would have felt less special if the title kept changing hands. So Shawn Michaels won it at Survivor Series. You wanted to keep it on him and just have a lengthy run, even though Shawn Michaels barely defended the title. I think he fought Shamrock and Undertaker, and I think that might have been it. Well, he did have one match with Owen Hart on Raw. But yeah, they pretty much blew through that feud. and it just wasn't the right time. I mean, it was basically something for Shawn to do until Austin, just a little sidetrack, you know, with Owen Hart, and then Owen moved on to feud with Triple H. Timing just didn't work, and I don't think it was the right time either to be changing the titles nonetheless. This one comes from Samish. Is it just me, or is Baron Corbin acting great as a heel manager? I think Baron Corbin is doing a really good job in his current role as the general manager. I think he was definitely floundering as a singles competitor, just doing his thing with the t-shirt and the hair, becoming the constable and then becoming the GM, cutting his hair. You know, I think those were improvements. I think he needed some kind of change. And yeah, he's doing well in that role right now, so I like it. Kurt's getting back in the ring, so good for Kurt. I'm happy for that, although, like I said earlier, I should be more excited for it. Yeah, I think Baron Corbin's in a good role right now, definitely. This one comes from Jake Lake Carpenter. Hey Aaron, Miz or Bryan, who has had the better career and who is more worthy of being in the Hall of Fame? For me, The Miz hands down is better and Bryan is overrated. Great wrestler, but overrated in every other area. Easy for me to say. I would go with Daniel Bryan. With all due respect to The Miz, I love the guy. He's a tremendous promo. Just does a great job night in and night out. Always getting better. But Daniel Bryan is in a league of his own in-ring wise. And I think Bryan's promos are really good too. I think, if anything, he's underrated as a promo. So I definitely don't think he's overrated at all. He's one of the best performers in the business. Miz is too. I mean, they're both great. They're both Hall of Fame worthy. Both of them absolutely 100% should go in. But, I mean, Daniel Bryan had that WrestleMania moment. Miz, yeah, he was in the main event of WrestleMania, but it was kind of a dud. So I would give the slight edge to Daniel Bryan, but both of them are fantastic. Both of them deserve the Hall of Fame. This one comes from William Spiegel. How would you make Rusev relevant again? It seems to me, ever since Rusev Day split, it has become an afterthought. I feel like it's too little too late. I think Rusev had the opportunity earlier this year, and WWE did not capitalize on it. I'm more upset about Aiden English than Rusev. I mean, Rusev, at least he was able to rebound from just being a total comedy wrestler, and the fans are really into him now. I mean, I would consider moving him to Raw for the Superstar shakeup and just letting him be a dominant babyface over on Raw to shake things up a little bit. So that's what I would do. Maybe that'll be the time, but then again, that's quite a ways from now. So it could be a scenario where it's too little too late for him. I don't know. This one comes from Paul Jackson. Hey Aaron, happy 20th anniversary of NoDQ. If Omega ends up signing with WWE, will we get Omega versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 35? Both men have expressed interest in doing that match. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think Kenny Omega to WWE is a situation where I'll believe it when I see it, and that might be too soon. Even if WWE does sign Kenny Omega, I think they're going to do Rollins versus Ambrose more likely than that. But I could see Kenny coming in and having a pretty big match. I just don't know, because WWE is already starting to plan out WrestleMania 35, and Omega may or may not sign. So, you know, they're not gonna make their plans last minute because Kenny Omega hasn't made a decision, or, you know, it might just be too close to WrestleMania. But we'll see. Anything's possible. I would not rule anything out at this point. Got this one here from Miguel. Let's imagine if new information is released and it is revealed that Chris Benoit is innocent. How would the WWE react and what would they do? Well, I think the obvious answer is that WWE would acknowledge him and they would possibly induct him into the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. Now, let's be real here. There's no evidence that's going to prove him innocent. I mean, it was pretty much as cut and dry as possible. There was really no doubts whatsoever about what happened. And yeah, I think that's very much reaching. But there are those conspiracy theorists out there that think he was framed or murdered. But yeah, I don't buy it. I think the police have it right. And unfortunately, you know, when things like this happen, they're really hard to accept. And for Chris Benoit fans, it's still to this day something that people have a really hard time dealing with and accepting, when somebody you admired and looked up to could do something that terrible. Got this one here from It's the Costanza. Would you book NXT Undisputed Era versus Triple H, Orton, and Batista as an Evolution minus Ric Flair, able to fight in the ring, obviously? Depends. I mean, Undisputed Era, yeah, I could see them getting a big push as a group when they eventually come to the main roster, but do I really want to see them versus Evolution? I mean, if Undisputed Era is going to be a big force in WWE, I would say put him in there with the Shield if Roman's able to come back. That would be the match to me. That would be the money match. Evolution, not really all that excited to see that potential match. I mean, I think Batista's better off doing singles matches than doing a run with Evolution. Randy Orton, for that matter. So, yeah, you could do the old-timers versus the new-timers, but not really something I would necessarily book personally. I mean, I'm sure some of you out there would be more excited than me, but I'm kind of like just about it. All right, that will wrap it up for No DQ video number 1000. Thank you again to everyone for watching and supporting the website and channel. Pick up a t-shirt, nodq.com/shirts. Check out the NoDQ meetup in Los Angeles over at nodq.com/LA for Survivor Series. And of course, stay tuned to nodq.com for the very latest WWE news and rumors. I will see you guys next time.